It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
How skillful he is and how mobile and well he moves at the height he is. That's something I definitely try to model my game after, because I think that's what makes him such a special player. He's an incredible player, so just being able to have this opportunity to play alongside him and learn from him every day, I'm super grateful for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to making the most of it.
Kyle Filipowski, second-round pick of the Utah Jazz, comparing his game to Lauri Markkanen's. There's no way they got a Lauri Markkanen in the second round, right?
There's no way they got a two-time, three-time MVP in the second round, right?
There it is. Hope for every second-round pick ever. The Joker. But seriously, they didn't do that, did they?
What, a guy who scored 0 points, had 0 rebounds, and 0 anything in the playoffs? Well, what a high bar that is.
NBA free agency started at 4 o'clock yesterday. Paul George making the biggest news overnight. 4 years, $212 million. He's going to the Philadelphia 76ers. Pair him with Embiid and Maxey, and what do you get? Conference finals, NBA finals, a championship. How far
what
will
level
they
of
go?
health can Embiid find himself at? Because I think that's been such an integral situation, level of importance regarding the ability of that team to reach what we think could possibly be its potential.
The most important single thing in the Philadelphia 76ers title chase.
Yeah.
Can Embiid go?
Because he's really good.
Yep.
Right? He's great. He's
And so is
probably
he.
as good as anybody in the league.
Is he out there at 80%?
Yeah.
Or is he not out there at all? If you hear either one of those things, their title odds drop like a rock. Even with Paul George showing up, that's still the
Right,
biggest
and we've
question.
been seeing this. Unfortunately, I mean, I'd love to see the guy being able to go all of them. I don't care who they are. Get to that time of year, you want the best players out there for sure, and he's really, really good. So tell me what his level of health is going to be, and, I think they would have an opportunity. But, as we saw with Phoenix, you just don't throw guys together, and away they go.
76ers also throwing together Kelly Oubre Jr., 2-year deal, $16 million. The other big money deals, James Harden gets 2 years and $70 million to stay with the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard is still there, but what else will they do now that they've lost Paul George? The Orlando Magic adding Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, taking him away from the Denver Nuggets. Denver, who are they going to put around Jokic and Murray? Is Klay Thompson a possibility? And if so, how much is left in his tank? He's been linked to everybody. Magic, Mavs, Nuggets, Lakers, anybody else?
Now, that's the good thing with this is that the better the team that you go to, the less you have to have in the tank to be able to make a critical and important addition and contribution. Like he wouldn't, no point getting him in the Jazz, right? Because he's nearing the end. So he doesn't have nearly as much as he used to have. But what he has, he can help you. We saw that, I think it's a lesser example with Joe Johnson here locally several years back. He was clearly at the end. If they would have gotten him 3, 4, 5 years earlier, man, that would have been something. But nevertheless, they didn't, and he still made a contribution. The team was ready for somebody like him to be able to help them, and he did at a smaller level.
Golden State Warriors waived Chris Paul, so they didn't guarantee his $30 million salary for the year. He bounces back by quickly signing with the Spurs for 1 year and $11 million. Teach Victor Wembanyama a thing or two. Bring him along.
I think that's so overstated.
Gap filling. I know.
That's cliche.
I'm
They'll
Chris
teach
Paul.
him how to be a pro.
I'm Chris Paul. I'm 6 feet tall. What can I teach this 7'4" guy
been
to
a
play
pro
at the
for
rim?
years.
Jonas Valanciunas gets 3 years with the Washington Wizards. If there's a spot for him in the league, why are we arguing about Zach Edey?
I'm not arguing about Zach Edey.
Other people are. You know what I'm getting at. You and I are on the same page there. If Valanciunas can do
I
it, you
converted
got to
you?
be able to do it.
Nice.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
49ers wide receiver Brandon Ayuk telling TMZ Sports he for sure wants to remain with the franchise. Despite the reported stalemate on a contract extension, Ayuk's entering the final year of his deal. Denver Broncos quarterback Zach Wilson got engaged over the weekend while on a trip to Italy.
We'll get to that later. Let's save that.
Okay. A couple made the announcement on social media.
I said let's save that.
Former number 1 NFL draft pick Jamarcus Russell fired as a volunteer assistant at his alma mater, Williamson High School in Mobile, Alabama, facing a lawsuit accusing him of taking a $74,000 check meant as a donation to the school. Local business owner wrote the check saying Russell approached him about a donation to help the football team purchase weight room equipment. The school allegedly never received the check. Russell reportedly deposited it in a credit union, promptly withdrew $55,000 of it. He's now banned from being on the school's campus.
So what's going to happen if he steps foot on? You're going to shoot him?
Well, he tried to attend a thing that apparently this past weekend was told he was not welcome.
And stay out. DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
1-0. Judge drives it. Center field. Kiermaier back onto the track. Gives it a look at the wall. It is gone. Goodbye. It's 2-0 Bombers. Fly ball to deep right. Are you kidding me? Another grand slam. 7-1 Brewers on the 5th grand slam in the last 8 days.
The count is 1-0. Here comes Crook. A swing and a drive deep down the line and left. It's hooking at the foul pole. That ball is history. Wyatt Langford has hit for the cycle. It's a 3-run Jimmy Jack to finish it off. And the Rangers lead 11-2. How about that?
Highlights from around Major League Baseball. The Brewers beat the Cubs 7-1. Bruce Turang there with the 5th grand slam of the month, the 5th in 8 days. Aaron Judge, home run number 31. Yankees blow out the Blue Jays 8-1. And Wyatt Langford, the cycle, as Texas goes into Baltimore and the Rangers beat the Orioles 11-2. Speed, PK, a triple to left center. You don't see that every day. A double that would have been a single for most people, and he beat out an infield hit. Flying. Bees win twice. Beat the Albuquerque Isotopes in a game that was suspended Saturday because of weather. They win 13-2. Come back and win the regularly scheduled game 5-3. And they are in Tacoma tonight, 8 o'clock. You hear Tony Parks on the call right here on The Zone. DJ and PK.
Hashtag golf.
Heartbreak, PK. Akshay Bhatia. Bogeys 18 when a 5-foot par putt would have got him into a playoff. Started on the left edge, and it just curled around the right side of the hole. So that 3-putt on 18, he misses the playoff, and Cam Davis wins the Rocket Mortgage Classic at 18 under.
Yeah, we make a big deal about this in golf. It's like in other sports, guys fail all the time. You actually fail more than you succeed. But somehow in golf, when this happens, it's a big, big deal.
It was a 5-footer.
Yeah. Okay. Guys miss free throws, layups, dunks. But in this sport, if it happens, wow. It's like, oh, man, that's amazing. You know, we saw it with McElroy a couple weeks back. And now with this fella and listening to the Golf Channel and his failure. He missed a putt. It happens.
Camera gave us a great angle of it, too. He barely missed it. Had the right idea, but nonetheless.
I love when you work Sundays.
Patrick Fishburne, tied for 25th at 10 under par. DJ and PK.
Hashtag RSL.
Another long throw. Flicked on. And into the back of the net. A rescue. Jude Bellingham. It had to be him, didn't it? Amazing. Just amazing. Palmer to swing one end. Dubravka again is good at reaching those, isn't he? Eza playing back in. Kane! 2-1 England! All turned around! Harry Kane!
England beats Slovakia 2-1. The bike in stoppage time, 90+5, rescues England. They're almost knocked out, but now they're on to the quarterfinals.
Wait a second here. Hashtag RSL.
And then
England beats Slovakia?
Yep, that's what we just heard.
I don't give a crap about England or Slovakia, and neither does anybody driving to work this morning, except you two, because you try to be all things to all people. B, don't tell me RSL when it's England and Slovakia.
Soccer.
Outside of the guys and some gals, but it's 99% of the guys who served missions in those two countries, nobody cares. They don't.
Slovakian missionaries.
Right, they do, and so then they got to come back, and then they speak with the accent, and then they act like it's such a big adjustment, which I'm sure it is, but eventually they grow up and they get out of it, and then they don't care about that crap anymore. England and Slovakia soccer on my air? What are we doing here?
The United States men's national team faces Uruguay tonight, group play finale. They have to win to advance. Even if they win, they could get eliminated on goal differential. Big test for the U.S. tonight against Uruguay, 7 o'clock on FS1. The big news for RSL, the Athletic reporting Fidel Barajas, teenager, 18 years old now, 17 when he came to town, and they got him for $200,000, and now Chivas reportedly set to pay a little over $4 million from him. The deal's not done yet, but apparently very close. And news for RSL fans is they can take that money and then turn it around and spend it on a player in the summer transfer window. Could help them win now.
When is the summer transfer window?
It's coming up. I think it's 2 weeks.
You think?
I do not have the specific date.
Man, what's wrong with you?
And the Utah Royals fired head coach Amy Rodriguez, reassigned team president Michelle Heinzig. She's going off to do a legal job for the Blitzer Group. They are in last place. There's 7 goals, fewest in the league by a pretty wide margin. The assistant coach has been promoted. Jimmy Conrads is the interim head coach now. And they'll try to figure things out. Don't make me say Jimmy's last name a second time. I may or may not have even been ballparked the first time. I'm certainly not taking another swing at it. Jimmy, and it's a media family.
He said he's only been in town for a week. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Who listening is going to know whether you pronounce it right or not?
DJ PK.
Hashtag NHL.
There's a lot of differences, free agency, the cap, but they're unique. I mean, there's bigger teams and smaller teams, and I think that is a big difference of how many people you have. Youth, definitely, NBA is a lot more star-focused. There's just a lot. Everything's different, but everything's also the same. You're still trying to build teams. You're still trying to build for the long term. The decisions you make today, tomorrow will always come, and those are the similarities that it comes with. I think we're going to see. I'm going to learn a lot other differences that are maybe there or not there, and so we're excited for the challenge.
Ryan Smith doing the media availability. You just heard in the last segment. You can get it wherever you get your podcast. You want to hear him talk more at the NHL draft in Las Vegas. Not only did the Utah Hockey Club end up making 11 selections in the draft, 2 in the first round, but draft day trades for Mikhail Sergachev, who won a Stanley Cup with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Expected to improve a defense, was in the bottom third of the league last year, and John Marino from the New Jersey Devils. So bringing in a couple veterans for some immediate help. We'll talk with Kyle Ireland, Utah Hockey Club insider for The Zone, about those moves, how much better they make the club. He's going to join us at 9 o'clock. Steve Cleveland, former BYU basketball coach, at 8 o'clock. The question of the day is next. What is trending? It's brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Joining us right now on the program, we've got Josh Stone, right winger.
This has kind of been the focal point for a while, is that this is getting to the end of the so-called rebuild that was going on for a while. And I think at the end of the year, we kind of proved that a little bit with how fun it was to play and how fun the games were for our group. That we had a good young group that was scoring a lot and having some fun. So I think you got to kind of build off the end of the year into this year, and a lot of draft picks and money to spend to bring in some players and some picks that are going to build more into that.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hot Takes or Toast is brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen, serving Utah for 30 years. Well, Sunday, you put up the question, PK, how cool would it be if Paul George chose to sign with the Jazz? Now, overnight, he opted to sign with the Philadelphia 76ers for 4 years and $212 million deal. So it's a moot point, but a lot of people responded. And
Well, I think it was going to head in that direction when I posted
When you posted it, people had a pretty good idea. It just wasn't official.
Right.
But Jazz fans really focused on the timeline of the rebuild.
Right, that's the point.
Yep. Michael, if this was 10 years ago, it'd be awesome. We got Mike Conley at age 34, too. We saw how that worked out. Ryan, yeah, that'd be great if he's got a plan to bring Maxey and another star player along with him.
Well, see, that's the thing that we were talking about. As they go about the rebuild, and we've heard a lot of stuff that they're in on Bridges, and maybe they could have got George. And where this team is, a player of George's caliber, even right now at 34, it would make the team better because I still think that I think we're going to see players be able to play a little longer better if they're interested in being committed and all that stuff.
You think 35 is the new 32?
Well, it's up to the individual.
Sure.
And his health resume and all.
You got to get a little lucky. Yeah, you got to get a little lucky.
Be fortunate,
with
and
the traumatic
you've got to have
right.
a commitment that begins way earlier. But because of the money they're making, they can hire whatever they want.
Combination of the money and the science, right?
Yeah.
The science wasn't available years ago. It is now. And the money might be motivating a few people. Yeah, I could do another contract. Let's go.
And they have the ability to hire the top-notch trainers, the dietitians,
the chefs, everything.
People to stretch your body, all sorts of stuff, right? You barely even have to have anything on your own. You can just hire somebody to do it for you or to tell you what to do, and then you do it. So as long as you got that, I'm not that concerned that he's 34. You know, it's a little eyebrow-raising. But because of the fact that he is, it wouldn't just be a singular investment in a player the caliber of a Paul George. You'd have to get somebody else because this team is not just one player away, right? So that was the thing. If they're interested in doing that, and reading a Fisher from Yahoo talking about all that, and you can hear all that stuff, and it makes sense that they would pursue it when Ainge says the big game hunting, you can't really have plural big games, but I think that's what it has to be. So on its own merit, that's good, but it has to be somebody else. If they got somebody else of that caliber, if you had a Bridges and a George, well, then you got my attention as far as being able to be competitive playoff-wise in 24 here?
We'll be 2025.
24, 25, yeah. So if you got to that point, that's what it would take. It doesn't look like that's where it's going to be able to get done. So then you ask yourself, okay, would you want somebody the caliber of George on his own merit if he were 25? Yeah. 34, 35? No. If I got two, yes. If I got one 10 years ago that shows a commitment to stay here, then yes.
DeGiro, it would have been cool 10 years ago. What do you think about adding a 34-year-old player and thinking we're going to be able to flip him in a year for younger assets? That seems like a risky move.
Then what's the point? Why not
you get an asset any way you can?
Yeah, but you suck, and then you'd get that asset anyway.
That's because the next draft is supposed to be so good.
Right. So I don't know that I would do that. If you knew you could do that, I guess, but why do that in the first place? This team has a good chance to add a high-caliber draft choice again next season. Now, obviously, that requires a significant amount of losing in – what year are we in here?
The fall of 2020, the winter of 2024, and then into 2025.
Okay, so then the spring of 25.
Yeah.
Or I guess by the time the draft comes around, it would be summer. So 51 weeks from now, obviously. It seems like a long way to wait, but
does.
I get it.
But how many good options are there for moving forward, and how far do you move forward? And if you don't do that, to your point, well, we'll just wait and get a top draft pick.
Yeah, and let these guys develop and be a year closer to being ready. That's all of them. That's the guys last year. That's the guys this year. But, just the passage of 52 weeks doesn't automatically make them better. The development combined with the time can make them better. There's got to be significant development. It can't be just sit around on your hands and have a year go by and expect these kids to be better next year simply because they're a year older. I suppose that could happen, but I don't want to be banking on that. I want to be banking on the fact that they got significant experience and they've been through it, they've been trained the right way, and they're doing all the stuff in the offseason. Then get them to that point, recognizing that rookies can only develop at a certain amount that first year. Guys like Hendricks and George, yeah, I'm expecting significantly more than what I saw last year because they have been around now. These other dudes, you got to let them get their feet wet, so to speak, a little bit here this first season.
Can Jazz fans stomach that?
I think they can
the long
if
winter
they
nights.
see the progression that we're looking for. If you're getting beat 132-87, that's another story.
Okay, but if you're losing 115-105 and Taylor Hendricks goes for 18-9.
Right. Yeah, I think you can see that. There has to, we can't just do like they tried to spin on us last year where, oh, man, he had that move in the third quarter. That's not it. It is real progress over a sustained period. In this case, just say 80 games, 75 games, whatever it is. That's where it has to be. If you have that, then I think that it would be palatable to the hardcore, who, when we're talking to a lot of hardcore here, to really see that. But it's got to happen. And it's got to, if they keep Kessler, it's got to happen with him too. And I can't really blame Hardy for giving Kessler 7 minutes. Kessler's got to demand the minutes, man. You got to go out there and ball to where they have no choice but to play you. You've shown that you're in your third year now, right? I don't want to hear you making commercials. I don't want to see any of that. That's not what it's about to me. It's about balling. And I don't want to hear you up there with marketing thinking you're some comedy guys. No, I'm not interested in that. I want to see, and that's okay to do that as long as you're balling. But I don't want to see him on a commercial if he's playing 7 minutes. I don't want to see him making jokes. This is serious stuff, and I think most Jazz fans would be in my corner here.
Well, we've been down this road so many times. We've seen so many draft picks who did develop, who kind of developed, and who totally took off. We all know what it looks like. It's not a mystery. So we'll know. And, I mean, man, if you want to raise the bar for Hendricks, which you should, it's his second year, you got to raise the bar for Kessler in his third. Assuming he's here, which,
right.
Let's see what the month of July brings.
Right.
Trader Danny and all that stuff. I mean, we can sit here and talk about anybody, but anybody might be coming and anybody might be out of here.
Anybody? One beyond Big Vic is coming?
Who knows?
I
you
do.
can probably rule that one out. There's probably a handful more if you want to run down a list who aren't coming to town.
Yeah, I think that's where we're at. Until I see trades otherwise, until I see roster adjustments otherwise, I'm talking about the guys that they have here. And they've got some talent here. It's not like they're talent void. It's not like, oh my gosh, this team, as far as at least being a playoff team, is really looking hopeless. I don't see that. But I've got to see improvement by, those would be the three guys that I would expect. I'm demanding improvement out of Kessler. I mean, he's not Cantor here who wants to screw off. I'm not saying that. But, he got a lot of run, and he's doing commercials and billboards, and it didn't back up, and he's an articulate guy and all that stuff. But I want all that articulation in the context of winning. And I realize the team isn't necessarily ready to win at the level we all want, but there's no reason why he can't bounce back and have an outstanding third season. I really believe that.
Be a double-double guy and establish himself. I mean, there were nights they sat him, but there were nights they played him too. He started about a quarter of the games, so he had some chances.
Right. And that's why I can't crack on Hardy or why you yo-yoing the guy's minutes. I got to believe it's on the player. The coach wants to win. He doesn't want to get up there and I mean, it got to be so tedious.
The last 30 games.
And what was he going to say? You know, like, why even have it? I know they have to have it, but it was the proverbial broken record.
That was more a reflection on the season than it was anything else. It's just the way the year was going at that point.
So let's have this kid demand minutes now, man. You have an opportunity here, and you have a long opportunity because the Jazz have as long an off season as anybody. I mean, their off season is, I can argue, started in February. And so what do you got, man? What's your commitment to the game? We've seen many players take quantum leaps. You know, we're not asking for a Hall of Fame career here, but we're asking for improvement. And you have the opportunity to do that. You know, there's been guys who have started somewhat slow and then really busted it and came back and got significantly better over time. This is a big season if they keep Kessler for him. And it's not quite as big for Hendricks and George, but you want the arc being up. You don't want any flatlining, and I think that's what we had with Kessler. I'm not expecting George and Hendricks to flatline. To me, they showed enough to know, to believe anyway, that the arc is still up. I think so.
Well, we saw a good arc over the course of the first season. I mean, Hendricks wasn't even with the team early in the year. So everything we saw from him in the second half was an improvement. Now, build on that and build on that again. Be better in the last 30 games than you were in the first 30.
It would be sweet if he demanded 25 to 30 minutes a game. Because there'd be more. I would think they'd be more than willing to give it to him.
Yes.
But I totally agree with everybody else who's been saying in the Jazz organization, you do not hand out free minutes. They must be earned. Some guys have a little more rope than others based on their tenure and their status. So if they go into a little bit of a slump, you're not going to just immediately yank them. We understand that. That makes sense. But that would be cool if we got to next April and minimally Hendricks averaged 24, which is obviously half the game.
Seems like on the low end of what I'm hoping.
Well,
I haven't sat here
minimum.
and thought that through.
Every time I say this, I always go conservative. I go minimum, recognizing that he'd still be, 20, 21 years old?
Yeah. There's still plenty of time for upside.
So let's not go ahead of ourselves.
Not only would we expect it, we'd demand it because we'll be sitting here in another year or two saying, okay, you're 22 or 23 now. Let's see more out of you.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I think we will. I think it will take care of itself. For George, it's a discovery of what caliber and what type of player are you? Are you a lead guard that could control and initiate an offense? Because Ainge himself said, they're not really sure. He hadn't done that his whole life, blah, blah, blah. So that's a level of discovery. It's not a level of discovery of this kid, does he have the talent to play in the NBA? I think that's already been answered. But where do you slot him, and what are the pieces of the puzzle, particularly now that you have the other guy out of SC, Isaiah? Where do you fit in there? How does that work? And then we haven't even talked about these guys. Filipowski is a 2-year player, so can you expect a little bit more? He did play 2. He started every single game at Duke. That says something to me.
Says something, but it still leaves the question open.
Well, the question's open every one of these guys.
How ready are you?
But it still says something. Duke is a high-level college basketball program. We all agree on that, right? And he, from day one, established himself. And maybe, they had a new coach. There might have been a new philosophy there. I'm not sure. But I think when they recruited him, they probably figured, man, we're not going to have him for 4 years. So it's not like, well, let's take our lumps now, like when Krzyzewski took over. It took a few years to get. Let's take our lumps now, and in 2-3 years. Well, that line of thinking is obsolete at the Duke level. Maybe at some other levels, but with the transfer portal, it's probably obsolete at every. Whether you're a middling Division I team, you're a bottom, you're a top. It's probably you really can't do that anymore.
Utah State screwed it up for everybody. Look, new coach, new roster. Look what they did.
Yeah. So from that perspective, how does that all fit in? But the fact that he started 72 out of 72, yeah, that intrigues me, man. And then, they say maybe with this babysitter girlfriend spiel that turned teams off, but the Jazz put out a statement that they were doing all their research and stuff. So, I hate getting into that crap. I just hate getting into their personal lives whatsoever.
There's so much we don't know.
And so much I don't want to know. I don't want to know about their personal lives.
I totally get that.
I am not interested in. Don't break the law, man. And don't have your personal life be an impediment to you being the type of player that you want to be. Everybody wants to be great. It's just, will you pay the price to be great?
Turn out the lights and dribble down the hallway around the chairs, like the great Jimmer Fredette at the age of 12 or whatever it was, 14.
2. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that goes back to having a long summer. You got months to work on this. Who's coming back with a new set? We sat here one offseason, Donovan Mitchell's got to come back with a step-back jumper. Then he came back with a step-back jumper, and it was reliable. And it changed him. So, what is Keontae George doing in the summer? What's he going to come back with? He started half the games last year, so got a pretty good taste of what is needed.
Well, that's over of what it takes. Now it's about what position are you? What do you fit in? How do you fit in? Because it's a big puzzle to make a ball club come together, right? You need everything. You really do. You need it. We were in with Kevin Graham here on Friday. Management. You got to have solid management. Yeah, okay, but it's because you have solid management. I mean, I think the Jazz have solid management, and they've sucked the last 2 years. You have to have solid everything. You pretty much have to have all the pieces, including the one that is the hardest, and it's the superstar All-NBA guy at the top.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Part 2 of our question, how cool would it be if Paul George chose to sign with the Jazz? We figured he wouldn't. Now we know he won't because he signed for 4 years and $212 million overnight in Philly. Part 2 of the question, free agency is here. What should the Jazz do? And we will get to that next. Stay with us.
Accessing.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
He's back for 3 more years. Liam O'Brien, forward for the Utah Hockey Club.
There's going to be great support. How confident are you guys that you can put together a playoff team in this upcoming season?
We're really confident. I mean, we've got a really good core, and then, we've got obviously a lot of room to add guys. Yeah, we got a lot of good players coming back. We have a lot of really good young players, and, they're still in their development, but they've done a really, really good job of working every day and just continuing to get better. So it's a really exciting group to be a part of.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The band of the day today is Guns N' Roses, brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concerts and events of 2024, check out livenation.com. Free agency period is upon us. What should the Utah Jazz do? Dave says they ought to go big game hunting. DC says, LOL. They're going to do what they always do. Nothing relevant. Larry says they won't do anything. They're just going to try to stay towards the bottom again this year. One way to make sure you stay towards the bottom, PK, trade Lowry Markkanen for young players or draft picks. What will Danny Ainge do? ESPN, they've got podcasts out with Windhorst talking about NBA executives say Danny Ainge will talk about trades and then do nothing, but they think this time is different. Maybe he'll actually do it.
Well, when has he talked about trades and done nothing?
I assume that everybody talks about trades and does nothing because I think everybody talks about stuff all the time and people don't make trades all the time.
But I think he does just about every year.
So what's he going to do in this case? How much does he want back for Markkanen?
I mean, last year brought in Collins. And the year before, he'll probably never have a summer like that again. So, one blockbuster a day practically.
Well,
This guy's a blockbuster just himself. Unto himself. Danny Ray? Can you predict what Danny Ray is going to do?
I cannot. But I think that's probably because sometimes he does stuff and then sometimes he doesn't.
Yeah, but he always does stuff.
But he's got multiple options. And clearly, when he said no comment as far as he didn't want to talk about marketing, he was weighing his options then.
Well, you're constantly. When does that ever stop?
Do you think it's real? You got your gut instinct.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. This is not a friendship and a relationship here. These are all business transactions. Because you can have a friendship. You take a look at Kyle Whittingham and Kalani Sitake. That's a friendship. But when Kalani left to go to Oregon State, that's a business relationship, right? So you have both, but they're separate. Because then we know he went from Oregon State down to Provo, and the friendship remains the same. But it's about the business here. So you can be buddies with marketing and love them dearly and go hiking with them or whatever stuff they put out occasionally on social media. They can do all that, but fine. If it's a friendship, then it'll last. So I'm not really worried about that. But this is a business situation here, and you got to do what's best for business at all times. All times.
And what's best for business is either putting players around Lowry who are really talented in the mid to late 20s. And if you can't do that, and if the core is going to be 19, 20, 21, then move on from him. When you have the most leverage and get the most back from him.
We saw the Lakers, Dallas, the Jazz, they had legends. Legends in the game and then franchise legends. So you're a franchise legend, and then can you go bigger than that and be a legend in the game? The three examples I just gave you with Nowitzki and Kobe and the statues, it's four guys, three recent examples that come to mind, or fairly recently anyway. And those guys, they reached a point where, okay, it was clear that they were going to go to the end. And then Stockton quit, and then we know that Malone took off for a season. All right, that happened. Ainge says, I'm not interested in that. I'm going to jettison Pierce, who is a franchise legend. Is he a legend of the game? Debatable.
Probably not.
Close, but I wouldn't put him at that level. But there's no doubt he was a franchise legend with the Celtics, right?
For a generation of Celtic fans, he is very important.
Right. You got rid of him, and it worked. It helped. So marketing here is neither. He's not a legend of the game. He's not a franchise legend.
If you can move Pierce and Garnett, and if you can not pay Isaiah Thomas, you certainly can move Lowry Markkanen.
And that's no knock against Markkanen because he's not of the age or tenure to be a franchise legend yet or to be a legend of the game yet. So I'm not knocking him whatsoever. He's a very good player.
Which is why there's speculation about good young teams wanting to add him to their core.
Oh, good old teams, good any team. The guy's a player. He can play this game.
The two I've read about right away are Spurs and Thunder. But to your point, there could be older teams getting in on this.
Well,
absolutely.
The Thunder are both. They're young and contending.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my gosh, if the Thunder can get Markkanen, I would take him without question.
Well, everyone figures that if Ainge is willing to trade him, and if he does make the move, he's obviously going to want a ton back. So who's got that? Who's got young players or a ton of picks or both?
I don't think you get back equal in that, in terms of existing talent. You look at the Thunder roster, who's comparable? Holmgren. And what's the point of doing that trade? You know what I mean?
Get younger would be the point, I guess.
No, I'm talking from the Thunder perspective.
Oh, from the Thunder perspective. Yeah, they're not going to, I wouldn't think.
Yeah.
That would be surprising.
Right.
It'd make it for a great show, though, so I'm all in favor of doing it because we'll come in here. Can you believe that, Abbott?
Yeah. So I wonder if they can get player value, they can get asset value, and then it's up to them to
you get the picks, and then you
cash
see where
in on
the
the
picks
asset.
finally fall when you get them.
Yeah, and how they use them and what they do. I mean, I don't think they're going to use every last pick that they've got going forward from now until 2030. Probably not. You got to use every avenue at your disposal for the opportunity to build, whatever that might be, right? So I wonder if that situation can exist to where they can get it. But that doesn't mean that you don't make that move. If they make that move, to me, it screams suckage in what year are we in?
We're in 24.
24-25, the 24-25 season. If he's gone,
then they're setting themselves up trying to get the top pick or a top 3 pick in the next draft, where the number 1 guy is supposed to be generational and the top 3 are all supposed to be awesome. So it wouldn't be like the Wembanyama draft where you have a 14% chance. And you'd have 14% to get Cooper Flagg, but a 42% chance to get one of the awesome guys. If they really turn out, I mean, we just saw how a guy's draft status can change over the course of a year, but there's a lot of confidence in the top of the next draft.
Yeah. So I think that would be that's not a smoke signal. That's just a black and white bold fact.
You're going for it.
Yeah. And that's what we've had. We've had many of our listeners complain that they didn't do that the last 2 years. All right, so if they did that and you complain that they didn't do it, you can't turn around and complain that they're going to do it. You got what you wanted. Right?
Well, for the listeners who are complaining, yes.
Well, I think there's been a fair amount. And they have some legitimacy to that complaint.
They do.
Yeah.
And given how good this draft is supposed to be, I get why they want to do that with Markkanen. But everybody else gets why they want to do that with Markkanen. So you get into that whole mind game thing with these other teams, like, they're going to do it. We don't have to offer that much. So
then don't do it.
So then Ainge, right? Or Ainge can play them off against each other. Yeah, you know I'm going to do it, but you're going to offer more because if you don't, they do, and then you can't beat them. You know, the Thunder and the Spurs are set up to compete for a while here in the West. I mean, the Spurs aren't there yet.
Spurs, they got a while.
But they speed it up with a trade like this.
They get better.
Yep.
I don't know that to what level do they speed it up? I don't know. I haven't studied their roster, to be honest. They got
Wembanyama,
Johnson,
Chris
Paul, and Wembanyama. And Paul is he's going to get injured. He got injured at 29, so he's going to get injured at 39. So,
a safe bet.
Yeah, I think that's probably where he got his most money, so he took it. Yeah, great. Okay. I can squeeze out $11 million more, and I'm 39 years old. Yeah. All right, fine. We'd all do it. Every last one of us. He ain't going to win there.
Play until they tear the jersey off you.
I don't know about that.
That was a Mark Eden line once upon a time.
Yeah. Well, and he got shortchanged, too.
Yep.
So he had probably some level of regret that he didn't get to go out the way he would have wanted to because of back?
It was a back injury.
Yeah. And it severely limited him at the end, so he didn't get to flush out as long as he wanted to. I understand where he was coming from there, but a guy like Paul remains to be seen. So, yeah, go ahead, but that doesn't mean you need to make the deal. I don't think that they're determined. This is not a Donovan Mitchell. They were going to trade Donovan Mitchell before everybody got here in September. He was not going to come to town as a member of the Jazz. He was going to come to town as a person who needed to get his stuff and get out of town.
The sand goes through the hourglass, the time runs out, and whoever made the best offer gets Donovan.
Right, and that deadline was September. And it was going to happen. There was no doubt it was going to happen, right? I don't think we're that situation with him, with Markkanen. His Markkanen's running around every time you hear him. Oh, I believe in the plan. Right? I have confidence in all that. Mitchell never said that. Hayward never said that. I like it here, sure, yeah. They didn't give you vague, obtuse responses, but you knew their heart was out the door, and that's all that mattered. Their words were irrelevant. It was the behind-the-scenes actions which had been confirmed by multiple people in both cases. Well, Markkanen, it's the other way around.
Another team that may be in on this is the Warriors. Warriors Spurs Thunder is where the speculation is going right now.
Now, the Warriors have more intrigued me. What player can Kuminga become? Because he's got to be the guy. To me, if I don't get Kuminga, goodbye. And that's a starting point.
But the Warriors might be a 3-team deal also.
I don't care. Who's that third team?
Well, yeah, that's the thing is I don't know who the third team would be,
but
and that's where you're getting. Well, that's where you get some of the assets, isn't there?
But I got to have Kuminga. That's what I'm saying.
So Kuminga can't go to the third team, and Markkanen goes to because there's a thought it could be with an older guy. Klay Thompson goes to a third team, Markkanen goes to the Warriors, and whoever that third team is, who do the Jazz get? I mean, there's a whole slew of teams being mentioned.
But you're
for Klay
looking
Thompson.
to replace a Markkanen type player, not literally specifically in the same form of game, but you're looking to get an underdeveloped guy, an underutilized guy because of circumstances.
I assume Ainge is going to want that,
and that's Kuminga
plus picks.
Yeah, I got it. But I want a dude back. I have to have bodies back. I just don't get picks.
Right.
I want Kuminga.
Is there anybody you
There's
want?
2 things I want. I want Candy, and I want Kuminga.
I want Candy.
And I want Kuminga.
Because Klay Thompson in a sign and trade to the Magic or the Mavericks or the Lakers or the Denver Nuggets. I mean, there's just endless speculation on where that guy might be going.
But I want Kuminga.
I want
Jonathan.
It's too many syllables.
JK. Yeah.
There you go. That'll work. Nice. Took a minute.
Because I can see him being sort of a Markkanen type player.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Steve Cleveland, former BYU basketball coach, joins us next. We'll talk NBA draft and NBA free agency with him. And we'll recap all the headlines. If you missed any of them, DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Remember, he coached Paul George in college. We'll get his thoughts on the Sixers. Stay with us.